stood up to test Jesus. "Teacher," he asked, "what must I do to inherit eternal life?" "What is written in the law?" he replied. "How do you read it?" He answered, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." "You have answered correctly," Jesus replied. "Do this, and you will live." But he wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" In reply, Jesus said, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too, a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. 'Look after him,' he said, 'and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have.' Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers?" The expert in the law replied, "The one who had mercy on him." Jesus told him, "Go and do likewise."
Good morning, good morning. Welcome to IKIR News 6 TV. I'm your host, Eileen on God, and I'm back from being off on a week's vacation. I had a wonderful time, but I did tune in to watch the show, and it was a phenomenal interview with Art by God. Good job, Art, in interviewing the transformed woman. I hope you caught it. Well, today is no less inspiring. We have a very special guest. We're going to learn the story of a man who did an incredible kindness to a very unlikely stranger. Would you please help me to welcome today Mr. Bueno Samaritan.
Woo!
Hello, Mr. Samaritan.
Hello.
Please have a seat.
Thank you.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on. You know, Mr. Samaritan, I heard from my producers, actually, that you were a little reluctant at first to come on. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah. I just thought, I had done a good thing, and it just something wasn't quite feeling right about coming on TV and talking about it. And you know what it was, I think? I was thinking about, that man Jesus that the transformed woman was talking about last week.
I do remember.
And I don't know if I actually had a chance to see him twice.
Did you?
I did, and just like life-changing experiences. But the first time he came to the village that we live in Samaria.
Yes.
And he ran into my cousin at the well.
Oh my goodness.
And we were all in town. She had gone out, to the well by herself, and she came running into town so excited, saying that this man had told her everything she had ever done in her life.
That's remarkable.
It really was. So we had to go and see. So we ran out there to see them. And he actually was so kind. He stayed in the village with us a couple of days and taught us. And, a lot of people have said he's a great teacher. Some have said he's a prophet.
Yes.
And some have said, even that he's the Messiah. So after that experience, I was traveling just a couple months ago, and I heard he was teaching on a mountainside.
Really?
Near where I was going to be at. And after that first
Exciting.
Experience, I was like, I just have to get out there. So I went out and I watched him teach on that day. And it's just amazing, just the power and the authority that he teaches with. It's almost like God himself is speaking to you.
Wow, my goodness. Now, was it something in either of those encounters that caused your reluctance at first today?
Oh, I'm sorry. I got so excited talking about Jesus, I forgot to answer your question. There actually was, one of the things that he said when he was teaching was, he said, be careful not to do your deeds before men so that they can bless you, because if they bless you, then you may miss out on a blessing that God has for you.
Oh, I understand. And I, of course, and as well as you, who would want to miss out on their blessing?
Right.
But then did something change your mind?
Well, yeah, after the first time I talked to the producer, who was very nice and a great pleasure to speak with, once I talked to him and thought about it a little bit, I thought about what Jesus had really said, and he didn't say not to, let people know about our good deeds. He wants us to know the good things that God leads us to do. What he had said was, don't do those deeds before men to be seen by them. And when I had done that, I didn't do it to be seen by men. And one of the other things that had given me concern, he said, when you do good deeds, don't go out and, play the trumpet and announce it with fanfare so that you can be honored by men. And I think that was my bigger concern. But, I'm not here to get any honor for myself in doing this. So I feel like I'm still, keeping in line with the things that he had taught.
That's wonderful. I want to apologize to you, Mr. Samaritan, and to our audience out there. That was our show hotline ringing. If you hold on one moment, I'm going to make sure that does not happen again. Thank you, sir. He's very knowledgeable, evidently.
The Holy Ghost revealed it to me. The Holy Ghost.
Amen. Well, we do like to have fun on our show.
Yes, we do.
This has been quite a fun interview thus far. So, what would you hope to be the results of today's interview, Mr. Samaritan?
Well, I think there really are two things that I would really like to see. Number one is, we can put up a lot of barriers. Like, there aren't enough things to barriers between people already. When we start putting up barriers because someone looks different than us, because their skin's a different color, because they're a different race or a different nationality or a different gender.
Yeah.
We need to, I would love to see people stop putting up all these artificial barriers between each other.
Yes.
And the second thing is, there is somebody that deserves honor for what I did. It's just that it's not me.
Oh, I see. Well, I'm sure God would be very pleased with the purpose of bringing people together. That's a beautiful thing. And also, I want to learn more about what you said about not putting up barriers. So can you tell us a little bit more about what happened?
Well, I tell you, one of the things that as Jesus was teaching on that mountain, and Jesus really deserves the glory for this, because I tell you, when I first saw that man as a Samaritan man, and I realized he was a Jewish man, I was about to walk on by. It wasn't in my heart to really stop and help the man. And then I tell you, not only that, but then, as I'm approaching, I see that there was a Jewish priest.
Oh, really?
Walking along the road, and he crossed over to the other side of the road and walked right on by the man.
You're kidding.
And then a Jewish Levite, he walked on the other side of the road, walked right on by the man.
A Levite?
I mean, and I'm thinking, these are men who serve in the temple. These are men who are here to bring people closer to God. I was thinking, boy, if he did this, what did he do that he deserved to have these things happen to him?
Oh, my God. Mrs. Samaritan, after your generous act, I'm kind of shocked that was your first thought.
Yeah. It was, it shocks me to think about it now, but it certainly didn't at the time. But, I was thinking one of the things that Jesus had taught on that mountainside, he said, that we are to love our enemy as well as our neighbor, that we're supposed to pray for those even that use us and abuse us. And
what?
Yeah, I know. He said, and the thing is, he said, even evil men will love somebody who loves them, will be kind to somebody who can do something for them. And I don't want to be at a point where I'm only taking my standard as high as what evil men will do.
Well, I certainly understand. Yeah. Tell us about what happened when you did approach the man.
Yeah, so I mean, after I had this, realization that, boy, God made him just like God made me. The sun comes up and goes down for him, just like the sun goes up and comes down for me. I decided to go over to him, and I knew I had a couple of rags in my bag, and I had some oil in there, and I knew I had a change of clothes. So my intention, really, when I first went over to him, was I was just gonna bind up his wounds, make sure I stopped the bleeding so he didn't lose too much blood,
Yes.
maybe just get him back on his feet. And then I was planning on, being on my way onto what I had to do that day. But boy, I tell you, as I was binding up his wounds, he started talking to me. And that completely changed my perspective.
Really? What was your perspective? How was it changed?
Well, I started to realize he is me.
What a strange statement. He is me. Can you explain further?
Well, I guess that it made sense to me, but if you're not in my head, it might not make sense to you. I guess as I was binding up his wounds and he was talking to me, he started sharing a lot of things. He told me he has a son that's 12 years old, almost the exact same age as my son.
Interesting.
And he was telling me a little bit about his wife and some of the things that they go through. And boy, I tell you, it sounded like it could have been, me and my wife. And then as the pain started to ease a little bit, he started, I guess started thinking about, well, what comes after this? And he started talking about, boy, that, all my money was just stolen. Everything I have of value was just stolen. And he was talking about, how am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to feed my family? And I just really could see myself going through those same things if I was in his shoes. And then even later on, as you sharing different things, little things like he has sick parents that he takes care of, and my father's sick, and my wife and I are helping to take care of him. And boy, it was like the more he talked, as I looked at him, it's not like I was looking at a Jew anymore. It's not even really like I was looking at another man anymore. It was really as I was sitting there looking at him and listening to him, it was really almost like I was starting to look at myself.
Wow, I understand the statement now, that he is me, that you said.
Yeah.
My goodness. And so after that, what happened?
So after that, I got him up and finally got him going, and I put him on my donkey, and I led him to the nearest inn, and I gave the innkeeper 2 denarii, and made sure that he had a nice comfortable place to rest and to heal up and to recover. And unfortunately, I couldn't stay though, but I did try to make sure he had everything he needed before I left.
Wow, that's incredibly generous, Mr. Samaritan.
Well, it wasn't me. One of the other things that Jesus taught on the mountainside that day was he said, "Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy." And I thought of, there have been many times in my life when I was down and I was out and I was struggling with things, and I tell you, God sent a miracle my way, or God sent a person my way that just showed that he had such mercy on me to bring me through those things. And, so I wanted to do that for somebody else. And, the other thing is, I'm not as young as I used to be, but I still have a few years left, and I may get myself in another situation. And I just, was thinking, boy, I want to show him the same mercy that I would hope someone would show me in that situation.
My gosh, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
What happened after that? Anything further?
Well, so after I was, as I was on my way out, I was thinking, still going through my head, well, what if he takes a turn for the worse? And so I stopped and I saw the innkeeper, and I told him, look, if anything comes up, if there's anything he needs that we missed, or an emergency comes up, take care of whatever need he has, and I'll be back in a day or two, and I'll reimburse you for anything or any additional expense that you incur.
My goodness, Mr. Samaritan, that really is quite incredibly generous.
Well, again, it's not me. I told you what my initial thoughts were on it. So,
yeah.
But Jesus did that for me. And I think about too, as I was walking out, another thing that you may be picking up on a theme here. That day on the mountain.
Yeah.
That day on the mountain. I was one of the things that Jesus said was, he said, if a man forces you to walk a mile with him, go 2 miles. And so on my way out, I was thinking, boy, if I'm going to go that extra mile for a bully who's forcing me to do something, I really should do that as well for someone who was so victimized and so hurt and so injured, and really just such a genuinely nice man and so appreciative of everything I did, I had done for him at that point. It's like, if I want to go the extra mile for my enemy, now that he's my brother, I certainly have to go that extra mile for him as well.
My God, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
It seems like you really have begun to live the teachings that Jesus taught. I have a question for you, and I'm sure our audience will find this interesting as well. Of all the things that you have learned from Jesus, if there was just one thing that you could impart unto the people that would help them, what lesson would it be, Mr. Samaritan?
I may have to cheat a little bit here and give you two, because I think really the most important thing is any chance that you get to spend time with Jesus, spend time with Jesus. Anytime you have that opportunity, because as we learn through the transformed woman,
Yes.
and as I've seen in my own life, I'm not saying it because someone told me. I'm not saying it because anything like that. I'm saying it because I've lived it and I've experienced it. If you have an opportunity, spend time with Jesus whenever you can. It will change and transform your life. From this particular experience, though, I think what would really be, I think about the world, if people would just live what Jesus taught, if we would start seeing all the things that we have in common with each other. All of us from time to time have an opportunity where we could take advantage of someone.
Yeah.
And if they look different than us, or have different beliefs than us, it may be tempting to do that. A lot of times we're going to have experiences in our life where we have an opportunity to help someone who's been the victim, who's been taken advantage of.
Yes.
And just when you have those opportunities, don't look at the differences in that person, whether it's their nationality, their race, their age, their gender, whatever it is. But really to look at that person and think, boy, that could be me. Because that's what happened as I was helping this man. Is, boy, the more I thought that could be me, the more different I treated him. So, just when you have those opportunities to help someone or to avoid to not hurt someone, just have it pass through your head. Boy, that could be me. That could be my mother. That could be my brother, my sister. That could be my son or my daughter. And then let that determine how you act rather than fear or differences that you perceive in all these little ways.
Wow. That's awesome, Mr. Samaritan.
Thank you.
Oh, my goodness. That's a wonderful, I love the two answers to that. And I know you did too out there. I want to thank you so much for once again tuning in to IKIR News 6 TV. Please come back when we'll share more inspiring stories from the men and women of God. God bless you. And please remember, God loves you.
And so do we.